Here's a subject we're only going to deal with briefly. Hacking, unwanted computer intrusion, and we're going to begin a little bit about mobile device forensics. We can deal with mobile device forensics more at length in a later lecture, but we're just going to introduce that idea. Unwanted computer intrusion. This is usually done over the internet. Of course, it can be done like someone can break into your house and use your computer. It's unwanted, it's illegal. But most of the time, most of the people worry about this also, that is done via the internet. Because, I mean, you can kind of like lock up your computer, but when you're on the internet, or when your computer is on and connected to the internet, you have no idea who is on the other side of it. So that scares people more. It happens more also. So why would people want to intrude into other people's computers? Well, corporate or national espionage. That's certainly a reason you want to know their secrets. Bragging rights, especially among the people who are interested in this kind of thing. They can say, well, I broke into NORAD. Well, I broke into, they want to show that, so they're going to break into the computer. Scary kind of thing, the destruction of files. They break into your computer because they hate you, and they want to ruin your computer. They want to take away your files, either as revenge or for ransom. They can say, well, we're not going to give you back your files unless you pay us a lot of money. And sometimes companies, they really need those files, and they're willing to pay the money. So these are reasons for hacking. Hacking, or it's also called cracking. Cracking is a little bit more negative than hacking. People can use the word hack to hack into something in the more benign way, in that it's a new way of doing something faster and better than people thought. Like they're a home hacker, like a home hacker, someone who uses devices in the home to do things that you never imagined that you could ever do. That's like the more benign term of hacking, but usually when people talk about hacking, they're talking about unauthorized computer intrusion. The more precise term would be cracking, because that's only has a negative connotation. Anyway, if it's done through the internet, then the IP addresses they're available through the service provider. So if they break into your computer, the IP address of whatever computer is trying to break in is available. The problem is criminals, they know about this, and they take all different kinds of steps to hide their IP addresses. And they have a lot of tricks. We're not going to go through a lot of them. We're not going to talk about any of them. They are complicated tricks, and finding the way around their tricks requires someone who has been educated for quite some time, for years, on the subject of what's called network forensics. One way to stop this from happening is using firewalls, which prevents any communication between computers unless it has some kind of authorization. Now, the hackers, they know this also, and they find ways to get through firewalls. But on the other side, we have the good people who try to make sure that this doesn't happen. They are wise to a lot of these tricks, and they figure out ways to know that someone's like trying to trick the firewall, and they can immediately get suspicious, and they find out who's doing it. Again, this is a major field unto itself called network forensics. We're not going to go into details, just to understand a little bit about what goes on. This network forensics is a branch of forensics that deals with data between computers. Of course, it involves remote hacking because data is being transferred back and forth, either because programs are being put into there when people don't want it, or they're stealing data, they're copying data. Also, when there's evidence on a computer and someone tries to remove it remotely again. This is what network forensics, they catch the data that before it gets deleted, or they try to find out where it was copied to. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes here. This is not just for civilian purposes and stealing and corporate espionage. There's a lot of this stuff going on between countries that want to get data from other countries, enemy countries, or just to get some more intelligence. A lot going on behind the scenes among these computer specialists that we don't know about, and we may never know, but it's an interesting field. So how do you catch the hacker? I mean, I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do it, but I'll give you a general idea. It's very often you have to wait till it actually happens. When it happens, you catch it and you realize that they're being hacked. And again, you might have a network forensic expert who you can catch this, or at least have the computer identify when this thing is happening. Then there's a lot of good information in the RAM that this hacker is trying to utilize and trying to work with, and in order to get their dastardly deeds done. And when that happens, you can catch this RAM activity, and you can often see where they come from. They may disguise their IP address in some way, or try to like reflect their IP address between someone, like say that their IP address came from somewhere else instead of where it really was coming from, and they've got a trace where, again, a lot of stuff going on there. But when that happens, all network traffic is going to be documented at the time that this hacking is going on. If the data is stolen, the IP address will often show where it's going, because at least the first stage of where it's going. Because in order for, let's say, the hacked computer to allow the data through, it's going to need some IP address where it goes to. So when that happens, you've got to be alert. You've got to start analyzing what's going on. It also often happens even when it's possible to, have some lead or some way to catch them when the intruder, even if they're not during the time of their hacking, they often leave programs behind that allow more intrusion. They're called like backdoor programs. Again, there's a lot more to it than that. Or they cause viruses. They're viruses. They're computer programs that slow down the victim computer, or that will cause a lot of deletion of files in the victim computer. And when these things run, or when these things are around, sometimes it's possible to catch them, even though the hacker is not there at the time. So you might be able to figure out from who wrote this program who the hacker was, or where they came from. There may be some clues left behind in the program itself. Finding these on these illicit programs are often done when you take a look at the processes going on a computer, and if you see something happening that looks like it doesn't belong, like it's not your program running, it's not, let's say, the internet thing running, it's some program you can't identify, that may very well be the virus that was left behind. So often they can be caught in that way. So that's enough about that subject. Again, it's enough for us. We're not professionals in it, and I'm not going to be discussing that field, which is way beyond the scope of this course. It just let you know that it does exist, and it's very important. Now we're talking about mobile device forensics. This is cell phone forensics, because these things are also very important. You might not think of it that way, but it's very important. You can find a lot of evidence on mobile devices if you can recover them from, let's say, a suspect. You can often find instant messages of criminal intent. If they're in the middle of doing an instant message, you can scroll through it and say, hey, wait, you've been talking about criminal activity. So that's one way of finding evidence using mobile device. It's a simple way, if the thing is on. You can also find emails. They're in the middle of an email, or there may be some email might be been saved on it that show the guilt of the suspect who has this mobile device. And this is like curiosity. I mean, people's desire to brag about their exploits. They take pictures of themselves doing crime, selfies of their own crime. I mean, it's strange. I mean, they post them online too. Like, look what I can do. They